Okay, so those who don't want to wait till tomorrow, I know Sunday is the exam, so those who don't want to wait till tomorrow and finish your syllabus today only, so it is for you. I'm just doing this video so that you can revise it much beforehand. So today we'll be discussing about parasitism. Okay, today we'll be discussing about parasitism. It is a kind of negative interaction. Okay, parasitism, and it is what kind of interaction? It is a plus minus kind of interaction. Now why is it plus minus kind of interaction? Because the parasite is getting benefited, okay, and the host is getting harmed. That is why it is a plus minus kind of interaction. So if you see, parasites are usually host specific. Okay, so NCERT statements, I'm sticking on to NCERT. Parasites are host specific. Okay, parasites are host specific. So what is the meaning host specific? For example, if you're taking a parasite, this parasite, let us take for example malarial parasite. Malarial parasite is going to infect humans. If you're taking any kind of parasites, they are very much host specific. Now if you see the parasites are usually small in size. Okay, parasites are usually small in size, and the host is usually larger in size. Okay, parasites are usually small in size and hosts are usually larger in size. So plus, I'm writing it here because parasite is getting benefited. Okay, and host, which is usually small in size, parasite is small in size and host is usually large in size, and this large sized host is usually getting negatively affected. Okay, so it's going to get harmed. That's why I'm indicating with a minus sign there. So parasite will depend upon the host for its parasite will depend upon the host for its food. Parasite will depend upon the host for its shelter. Parasite will also depend upon the host for both food as well as shelter. Okay, it can depend upon the host for any of these things. Now because the parasite is depending upon the host for its food, shelter, or both, so parasite, what is going to happen to the host? The food availability of the host is going to get decreased. Again, NCERT statement. Okay, availability of food is going to get decreased. Reproduction ability of the host is going to get decreased. Okay, reproduction ability of the host is going to get decreased. Growth of the host can get decreased. Okay, survival of the host also will decrease, and population density of the host will also decrease because of this parasitic infections. Okay, because the parasitic infections, population density of the host will also get decreased. Getting my point? Okay, so let us move forward. Parasites are of two types. Parasites are of how many types? Two types: ideal parasite and successful parasite. Okay, how many kinds of parasites we are having? Two kinds of parasites we are having. Okay, first kind of parasite, you call it as the ideal parasite, and the second kind of parasite is a successful parasite. Ideal parasite is the first one and successful parasite is the second one. Okay, now what is an ideal parasite? Ideal parasite is that kind of parasite which derives maximum nutrition, maximum food, maximum shelter from the host. Such kind of parasites, we call them as what kind of parasites? They are called as the ideal parasites. Okay, so maximum benefit is derived from the host. Okay, maximum benefit is derived from the host in terms of what? In terms of food, in terms of shelter. Okay, in terms of food, in terms of shelter, in terms of food and shelter, in terms of protection it can get. Okay, in all these ways ideal parasites will derive maximum benefit from the host. If you see a successful parasite will use maximum resources from the host, maximum use of host, maximum usage of the host, but with minimum damage to the host. Okay, but with minimum damage to the host. it is going to cause minimum loss to the host, or minimum harm to the host, or minimum damage to the host. Now, why is it called a successful parasite? See, if the parasite is causing more damage to the host, obviously the host will die. And if the host is going to die, if the parasite is, let us take for example, is completing its sexual cycle in the host, it will not be able to complete its sexual cycle. If it is not completing its sexual cycle, the survival of the parasite is a question, correct? So that is the reason. That is the reason a successful parasite is that parasite which causes minimum loss to the host. Means the survive, if it is causing minimum loss to the host can survive much better. Okay, so that is why these kind of parasites, instead of killing the host directly, okay, they don't kill the host directly. They'll be causing what? They'll be causing minimum amount of loss to the host. Okay. Fine. So let us move forward and let us see what are the adaptations that are shown by the parasites. Again NCERT statements, guys. Adaptations that are shown by the parasites for their survival inside the host. Adaptations of the parasites. The first one is loss of unnecessary sense organs. Okay, whatever unnecessary sense organs are unnecessary in the sense that parasite doesn't require those sense organs. Okay, so loss of unnecessary sense organs, loss of unnecessary sense organs. Okay, loss of unnecessary sense organs. The second important thing is loss of digestive system. Okay, loss of digestive system, when it is already getting enough amount of nutrition, that too in the most digested form, they don't require special kind of digestive systems. Okay, so loss of digestive system. Okay, third one is development of, they're going to develop some development of adhesive organs. Okay, best example suckers. Best example are suckers. If you have seen Taenia solium, parasites like Taenia solium and all, they've got these suckers. Okay, hookworms. They got these suckers by which they get attached to the host. Okay, intestine of the host or intestinal walls of the host, etc., and they keep absorbing the nutrients. Next important adaptation is high reproductive capacity. Okay, high reproductive capacity. Best example we can see viruses. Viruses, high reproductive capacity. Okay, you call it the peak viremia stage. High reproductive capacity, it produces more than like 1.5 lakh copies. Okay, that is called as the viremia stage, peak viremia stage. Okay, so high reproductive capacity, or the question examiner can give you high reproductive potential, or the examiner can give you high biotic potential. Anything is same, guys. Okay, so high reproductive capacity. So these are some of the adaptations, guys. Again, NCERT can be a 2-marker also for your board examination. Please keep it in mind. Okay, next one is types of parasites. Again, on the basis of whether they are living within the body or whether they are living on the body of the parasite. Okay, sorry, host. So types of parasites, again, on where they are living, whether it is within the body of the host or it is outside the body of the host or upon the body of the host. Okay, so it is of how many types, guys? It is of 2 types. The first kind you call it as the ectoparasites. First kind you call it as the ectoparasites. Ecto is upon, okay, or outer. Yes or no? Ectoderm we say, no? And second one is endoparasites. Second one is what kind of parasites, guys? Endoparasites. So 2 kind of parasites here, ectoparasites and endoparasites. So ecto is upon. Okay, if the parasite is living upon the host, okay, not within the host, upon the host, you call them as ectoparasites. In the case of plants, best example of ectoparasites, we'll be seeing 2 kinds of examples here. First one we'll be seeing in the case of plants. In the case of plants, you might have seen aphids. No? Aphids are ectoparasites. Okay, so in the case of plants, you can find aphids. Okay, you can also find these lac insects also. Okay, so all these are ectoparasites which stay on the surface of the host. In the case of animals, I need not tell you, in the case of animals, you know many. Okay, best example is your leech, blood sucking leech, correct? So Yeah, so these are ectoparasites. Now let us let us move towards the endoparasites. Okay, so endoparasite is the parasite if it is staying within the body of the host or inside the body of the host. We call it as what? We call it as the endoparasite. Now endoparasites that are in the human intestine. Endoparasites where, guys? Endoparasites in the human intestine. Endoparasites in the human intestine. Okay, we have three. Okay, remember T. T E A T. Okay, remember what? Remember T. So first one is Taenia solium. All of you know this very very well. First one is Taenia solium. Second one is Entamoeba. We have studied the life cycle of Entamoeba also in a very very great detail. Okay, Entamoeba. Next one is Ascaris. Okay, next one is Ascaris. These are spotters also for you. Remember, if you are a 12th standard student, Entamoeba is a slide. It is a practical in the 12th standard board practical examination. Entamoeba will be a 1 mark slide for you. Ascaris also will be a 1 mark spotter for you. Remember this. So you need to know, because questions can be framed, questions can be asked in the Viva on this because they are spotters. Okay, remember this. Entamoeba histolytica or Entamoeba and Ascaris. So these are intestinal parasites. Okay, they live within the host. Now we have intracellular parasites. Okay, what is an intracellular parasite, guys? Intracellular parasite. Intra means within, correct? Intracellular means the parasite is living within the cell. Okay, so best example you might have studied about Plasmodium. So whenever we are using this word Plasmodium, biological classification also should come into your mind. Plasmodium. Okay, and human health and diseases also you must be able to interlink. In human health and diseases, we have studied the Plasmodium life cycle, and in biological classification, we have seen to which phylum it belongs to, etc. So all that should come into your mind. Okay, so Plasmodium, and Plasmodium is a intracellular parasite. Where does it live? It lives in the RBC. Okay, it lives where, guys? It lives in the RBC of human. I hope till here it's clear. Let's move forward. So if you see these endoparasites, little characteristic features of endoparasites. Again, NCERT statements, guys. Endoparasites are more specialized. Okay, more amount of specialization is found in endoparasites. More specialization is found where? More specialization is found in endoparasites. They are more specialized. More specialization is found in endoparasites. Okay, again NCERT statement. Okay, they have got complex life cycles. Endoparasites will have complex life cycles. Okay, but if you see the anatomy and morphology, they'll be having simplified anatomy and morphology. Okay, their anatomy and morphology is simplified. Simplified anatomy and morphology is present in these kind of organisms. Okay, so bear this in mind. Simplified anatomy and morphology is present in them. Okay, next one is the reproductive potential is very very high. This we have already discussed. Okay, reproductive potential is high. Reproductive potential is high. Okay, reproductive potential is high. Remember this, guys. Very important. Okay, so let's move forward. And let us see the types of hosts now. Till now we have seen the types of parasites. Now we will be seeing the types of hosts. Okay, so hosts are also of two types. Okay, primary host and the secondary host. Okay, how many kinds of hosts are there? Primary host is there, and you have the second kind of host which is called as the secondary host. Okay, so what are primary hosts? If the sexual cycle of the parasite in whichever host the sexual cycle of the parasite is completed, okay, in whichever host the sexual cycle of the parasite is completed, that host is called as the primary host. Okay, and if asexual cycle of the parasite is taking place in a particular host, okay, if asexual cycle is taking place in a particular host, that is called as the secondary host. Okay, best example I will give you, liver fluke. Best example is what? Best example is your liver fluke. So in the case of liver fluke, guys, the primary host and the secondary host. So wherever the sexual reproduction is taking place, in whichever host the sexual reproduction is taking place, that host is called as what? That host is called as the primary host. So here human is the primary host, okay, and snail or fish is the secondary host, okay. Snail or fish is the secondary host. Getting it? Okay, so fine. Next, let us move forward. After seeing the types of host, let us next move on to a kind of parasitism which is called as the hyperparasitism. Okay, the next kind of parasitism is called as what parasitism? It is called as the hyperparasitism. Hyperparasitism. Okay, hyperparasites or hyperparasitism. Now, what are these hyperparasites and what is this hyperparasitism? Understand this carefully. Okay, a parasite is a parasite on another parasite. Okay, there is an organism which is a parasite. There is an organism which is a parasite, and there is one more parasite which is growing on this parasite. So, parasite on parasite. Parasite on parasite. You call it as what? Hyperparasitism. Now let us take for example, there is a plant. Let us take for example, there is a plant. And let us take for example, there is a bacteria which is a parasite on this plant. Okay, let us take for example, there is a bacteria which is a parasite on this plant. Now there is a bacteriophage. There is a bacteriophage, whatever you call it, bacteriophage, which is parasite on this bacteria. Bacteriophages, are going to infect the bacteria, correct? So there is a bacteriophage which is infecting this bacteria. So this bacteriophage, we call this bacteriophage as the hyperparasite. Okay, this bacteriophage is called as what parasite? This bacteriophage is called as the hyperparasite. Now, why is this bacteriophage called as the hyperparasite? Because this bacteriophage is a parasite on the parasite. This bacteria is also a parasite. It is a parasite on this plant. So, such organisms, we call them as what? We call them as the hyperparasites. Okay. Best example is this one. Next, let us move forward and see one more kind of parasitism, which is called as the total parasites. What is that? Total parasite. Total parasites. Okay, now what is this total parasite? If a parasite is depending upon the host for everything, for its food, for its shelter, for everything, if the parasite is depending upon the host, such parasites we call them as the total parasites. Okay, these total parasites are also called as the holoparasites. Okay, total parasites are also called as what parasites? Total parasites are also called as the holoparasites. Okay, now if you see plants, in the case of plants, we have two kinds. Okay, the first one is going to be a total stem parasite. First one is what? First one is going to be a total stem parasite. Okay, first one is going to be a total stem parasite. Second one is going to be a total root parasite. Okay, total stem parasite, total root parasite. Total stem parasite and total root parasite. So what is this total stem parasite? Understand this carefully, guys. If the parasite is depending upon the stem for obtaining its nutrition, everything, then such kind of parasites, you call it as a total stem parasite. Best example is Cuscuta. Okay, guys, Cuscuta, it has lost its chlorophyll. Okay, Cuscuta has lost its what? It has lost its chlorophyll, and leaves are also completely reduced. Okay, so it doesn't depend, it completely depends upon the plant for its host plant for its nutrition. Okay, it completely depends upon the host plants for its nutrition. So that is a total stem parasite. Then we have total root parasite also. Total root parasite is Rafflesia. Okay, so Rafflesia, all of you might have heard of this flower, largest flower. Okay, so Rafflesia. So Rafflesia is a root parasite. Root parasite means it is going to obtain its nourishment, food, everything, minerals, water, everything from the root of the plant. Okay, root of its host plant. That is called as what? That is called as the complete or total root parasites. Okay. Next kind of parasitism is hemiparasitism or semi-parasitism or partial parasitism. The next kind of parasitism is hemiparasites or semi-parasites, or you can also call them as what? Partial parasites. Okay, you can also call them as the partial parasites. Now, what these will be doing is they'll be taking only minerals and water. Okay, but they can synthesize their own food. They'll be taking only what? They'll be taking only minerals. They'll be taking only minerals and water. But food is synthesized by them. That is the reason they are half hemi-partial, hemi or partial or semi-partial parasites. Okay. Best example is Viscum. And Viscum is a partial parasite on oak tree. Viscum is a partial parasite on oak tree. Next example is Loranthus. What is the next example? Loranthus. Loranthus is a partial parasite on mango. Okay, so let us move forward. Let us continue. So this is about the hemi parasite or partial parasites. Okay. Now, this is about your parasitism. So in the NCERT there is a question. The question is, mosquito is not a parasite. Reason they have asked in the question. For the answer for that question is not explained in the NCERT. Guys, now if you see mosquito is not a parasite. Mosquito is not a true parasite actually. Okay, reason is it doesn't take shelter in the human body. Okay, it doesn't take shelter in the human body. Mosquito doesn't take shelter in the human body. Second important thing is whatever blood it is consuming, the blood that it is consuming is actually for warming its body and for incubation of its eggs. Okay, so the blood meal that it is taking from the female mosquitoes that are taking blood meal, the blood is not actually a nourishment for it, but it is what? It is an blood warming compound for it, and it is also useful for incubation of its eggs. Okay, it is also useful for what? Incubation of its eggs. So that is the reason we don't consider it to be a parasite. We just say mosquito vectors. Mosquito vectors. Okay, fine. So this is about what? This is about your parasitism. One very important last concept in parasitism, okay, which is a very important 2-mark question, okay, which is the brood parasitism. Okay, which is what kind of parasitism? Which is brood parasitism. Brood parasitism is also called as social parasitism. Brood parasitism is also called as what kind of parasitism? Brood parasitism is also called as social parasitism. Okay, and this best example of this brood parasitism is which kind of birds, guys? 2 birds you might have studied. From in your lower class also you might have studied this. Best example is crow and cuckoo bird. Okay, which kind of birds are examples? Crow and cuckoo bird. Okay, crow and cuckoo bird. So what is this brood parasitism is? The parasitic bird, okay, whichever parasitic bird is there, the parasitic bird, here it is the cuckoo bird, parasitic bird is going to lay eggs. Parasitic bird is going to lay eggs, okay, in the host nest. It is going to lay eggs in the host nest. Okay, means crow nest here, and the host is going to incubate the eggs. Okay, host incubates the eggs of which kind of birds? Cuckoo birds. Okay, host incubates the eggs of the cuckoo birds. So this is called as the brood parasitism. Over the course of evolution, what has happened is the eggs of these parasitic birds have modified in such a way that the color of the eggs and the size of the eggs, the shape of the eggs, okay, they have modified in the course of evolution to exactly resemble the eggs of the host. Okay, now what is the advantage the parasite gets out of it? The advantage the parasite gets if the eggs are resembling the host, the eggs of the host, is the better chances that the host incubates the eggs. Okay, if they are not resembling, the host will kick those eggs off the nest. Okay, so in order to prevent that, in the course of evolution, the eggs of the birds evolved in such a way that they resemble the eggs of the host, as a result of which host incubates them and not throws them off. Okay, so this is about parasitism, guys. Thank you very much.